Hello everyone and welcome to Wervan's World and welcome to my planet guide for Endless Space 2. So I've been getting a lot of requests to make a terraforming guide and I kind of started on it, but then I realized it might be better to first explain all the differences between planets and what they mean before actually making a proper terraforming guide. So what is the deal with planets in Endless Space 2? Well, the game actually has quite a lot of different planet types, and a planet type determines a couple of things. It determines how many resources you can get from the planet. It also determines whether it will be temperate or hot or cold, and also whether it will be sterile or fertile or none of those two. Furthermore, there are gaseous planets that also do different things. The nice thing is that each type of planet always has the same stats. This can differ because of anomalies and resources, but the basic statistics are always the same. This is a little bit different from Beta, where there was some randomness in the statistics of each planet, but now they have been standardized, which is quite nice. So in order to explain more about this, I spent quite some time editing a picture. So I took a screenshot from one of the Endless Space 2 videos about the whole ratio that Amplitude Studios brought out. And then I kind of edited a lot of stuff on top of it. So I went through all my save games and kind of found out what the basic stats of each planet are. And then I plotted them, as you can see here. So these are all the planet types that are currently in the game. So as you can see, the top row has all the gaseous planets, so they're kind of exceptions, and then you have all the telluric planets. Now, there's a couple of things to note on this graph. First of all, on the x-axis we have temperature. Then on the y-axis we have biodiversity. So if we go from the left to right, we go from cold to the more hot planets. But if we go from the top to bottom, we go from the sterile to the fertile planets. Don't really look at the gas planets, the top row, because they are the exception again. So there are a couple of general tendencies in this graph, but I won't go into all the specific details because, well, I won't go over each and every planet, but I will upload this picture, so the URL will be in the description, so you can have a look at it yourself. First of all, there is a tendency for the colder planets to have more science than the hotter planets. So, for example, here the barren one has 16 science, ice has 12, Arctic has 8, and so on, and even boreal has 5. And then if we go more to the right, they get less and less science. And for example, ash, lava, and jungle don't have any science whatsoever. However, the hotter planets have more in the sense of production. So as you can see, the lava planet has 16, the ash has 12, and so on. Basically, it's the inverse of the science one, like barren has 16 science, lava has 16 production. Ash has 12 production, ice has 12 science. Then there is supposed to be a general tendency that the more biodiversity we have, so the more downwards we go, the more food we have, and the more upwards we go, the more dust we have. However, this is not entirely the case really. So as you can see, well, when we go down we do get more food, but the way we go up we don't necessarily get that much more dust. So here's forest, for example, which has 4, and Arctic has 6, and ice has 4, monsoon has 4. So kind of the dust all is fairly equal, unless you go to these gaseous planets, temperate and warm one, which give you 26 dust per population. One way that planets also differ from each other is their size, and this is in 5 different gradations. So it goes from tiny, small, medium, large, and huge. And you can see this by hovering over the planet. As you can see on the left now, it says large here, and this one here is a medium, and this one here is large, for example. And this turns out to have quite a big effect. However, this effect is not the same for all planet types. So let's say I have a toxic large planet that can hold 4 population. However, a large tundra planet can hold 8 population, so it can hold double even if it's the same size. Here I have a Terran planet that is medium, but that also can hold 8 population. So a medium Terran planet can hold the same as a large tundra and even more than a large toxic. This turns out to have quite a big effect, because basically you have to multiply the production of your planet times the population that you have. So this toxic has 4 people in it, so that would be 4 times 3 is 12 production of food. So let's say this tundra would also have 3 food. It has more, but let's say it would have 3. Then it would be 3 times 8 is 24. So I would get much more production from this planet than I would on this toxic one. So that's something to keep in mind as well, I didn't include it in the graph because I wasn't entirely sure how to do it without completely making it very chaotic. But yeah, do keep in mind the amount of population that each planet can hold. What this means is that some planets are objectively better than others. For example, here we have lava and ash. They are both hot and sterile, so they don't differ in that. However, this one has 12 industry and 4 dust, while this one has 16 industry and 2 dust. So you would say that, well, that depends on whether you like industry or dust more, which one you take. However, these are both medium planets, and a medium ash has space for 4 people, while a medium lava planet has space for 3 people. So once these planets are full, this one would give me 4 times 12 is 48 production, while this one would give me 3 times 16 is also 48 production. So that's the same. However, this one would produce 3 times 2 dust is 6 dust, and this one would produce 4 times 4 is 16 dust. So this one would be much more better with dust. Then also the happiness hit is less. So this one has minus 15 happiness from living here, while this one has minus 20. Lastly, they cost different amounts to colonize. Lava actually cost me 4 turns because it's 640 production, and ash cost me 320 production, so only half of that, so it's also easier to colonize. And it has an extra population slot, which means I would get 1 more bonus from that population. For example, here, this one would give me +2 science, and this one here would give me +1 science, and this one would give me +2 food. So there is a big difference in planets, and not all of them are worth the same. So what do all these cold, hot, fertile, sterile, temperate icons mean? Well, those have 2 different effects. First of all, they have an effect on which populations like to live there. So sometimes you can have a population that gives you extra food when they're on a sterile planet. Other populations might give you extra science when they're on a cold planet, and so on. So if you have multiple types of planets in your system, you might want to drag them around in order to optimize their placement, because some might be happier on one planet and more productive, while others might be more productive on another planet. So by dragging this around, you can very much optimize your output. Second of all, this fertile and sterile stuff has influence on terraforming, but that's something I will go into in my next guide. So let's have a look at the gas planets. Are they worth colonizing? Well, that really differs. So gas planets can also differ in their size, but their population levels are always very low. As you can see here, the gas planets always have a -10 in happiness, but they give you either 26 dust, 26 science, or 26 production, depending on if they're temperate, cold, or warm, basically. Now, the question of whether they are worth colonizing depends, because, for example, here I have a gas planet that has, as an anomaly, a single moon, which gives it +1 population slot. So that gives it 2 population. Now, if I take the technology in order to colonize gas planets, that one gives you +1 population slot on gas planets, but also +1 population slot on huge gas planets. So if you have a huge gas planet like I have here, I would get 2 extra population slots, plus the one I get from a moon. So basically, I would get 4 times 26 dust on this planet. So that's really a lot. That's 104 dust that I would get each turn. However, for the rest, it doesn't really give me anything. Now, let's say this planet wouldn't be huge and it wouldn't have the single moon. Well, then it would have 1 population slot, and 1 population slot from the technology would give me 2 population slots. Times 26 is 52 dust, which is okay, but you can get better. Like, for example, here I've got this one, which gives me 4 dust per population here, and I have 8 population. So 4 times 8 is 32. It's a little bit less than 52, but still, I get all these other advantages from it. So, of course, if you have a planet in your system, it might be worth colonizing at some point if you have the happiness for it and stuff like that, but it's normally not really a priority. In summary, as a rough generalization, you could say that the bottom planets are basically the best planets. First of all, they have the most population slots. They have generally better stats, although not as extreme as, for example, the lava planet and the barren planet have. and they also don't require you to do any research in order to colonize them. However, they are also fairly rare, so you don't find them as much. So in general, you have to do it with the planets that are basically the top 3 rows. So then it might make sense to kind of make some choices, because there you need research in order to colonize them. So let's say you want to go for a more scientific approach, then it might be good to first research the barren and ice and stuff like that. While if you want to go more for production, then you might want to research the things to colonize ash and lava. So this was my planet guide to Endless Space 2. So I put quite a bit of effort into this graph, but of course, because there's so many different types of planets and I had to load a lot of different save games, and the stats of each planet can be adjusted by the anomalies and the resources that each planet has, I might have made mistakes. I hope I didn't, but yeah, that's the problem with mistakes. You don't know whether you made them or not. So if you found any, then please let me know and I will update the file and re-upload it so that you always have access to the correct one. But I hope I didn't make any mistakes and I hope you found it useful, and see you next time.